Welcome to Black Man's Corner. I'm W.E.B. Today, the topic is critical race theory for beginners. Part 1 of 3. Content warning. This video is meant to be a user-friendly interpretation of one of the most controversial topics in America, critical race theory, also known as CRT. Now, this video was not made to belittle or defame anyone, but sometimes when you throw a rock into a pack of hounds, of dogs, the one that howls is the one that got hit. If you already have a perspective on critical race theory, it could be as misinformed as people were about the famous March on Washington, which culminated in Dr. Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. Few know that Bayard Rustin, a gay man, was an invaluable advisor to Dr. King and a primary strategist for that memorable day. Nonetheless, here's an opportunity to check yourself before you wreck yourself. Because, of course, no one thinks their perspective is misinformed, or worse, unrealistic. Try to recognize that much of our perspectives have been spoon-fed to us by agenda-laden systems like the news media, political parties, even at times our educational enterprises, determined to reframe CRT as something divisive, when it really should not be in terms of its necessity as a truth and one not derived from alternative facts. Yet, it is a tool of divisiveness for those interested in using it as an alternative fact to create an alternative truth. Since when does 2 plus 2 equal 77? Republicans prefer to interpret critical race theory as promoting self-hate in whites through its historical lessons that feature whites as culpable for many, if not most, of the country's racial heavy-handedness. So historical lessons that celebrate Jesse and Frank James as Robin Hood-like legendary bank robbers, thieves who rob from the rich to give to the poor, are the type of narratives, the type of history that, if left alone, glorifies these two bandits at the expense of others. Amongst the others are the descendants of those they victimized for what historians nicknamed as the lost cause. Critical race theory revisits this well-woven tale to reveal Jesse and Frank James as not so noble. Instead, historians, omitting that they were also disgruntled Confederate soldiers who once rode with Quantrill's Raiders, a notorious band of rebels whom, upon realizing they had lost the Civil War, instead of accepting defeat, took to the countryside to wreak mayhem, beginning with the cold-blooded murder of any so-called Negro they encountered? Does that sound familiar? It should. It is eerily similar to Trump's MAGA minions, with their blood-red MAGA hats, prepared to murder, upon storming the U.S. Capitol, any lawmaker they encountered for a similar lost cause. Why this is important is that without the historical lessons provided as a result of critical race theory, Jesse James is still seen as a hero. Subsequently, somewhere, there's a little black boy, like me back in the day, now experiencing cognitive dissonance. Yes, his mind is foxed up from realizing the cowboys, like Frank and Jesse James, we both would fight other boys to portray, would have murdered him and I without a moment's hesitation, just because we are black. Alternatively, CRT breeds an enlightened awareness in all who consider racism open-mindedly. It insists that the folktales far too many Americans readily embraced need to be unpacked in the context of race relations at that time. So the casual reference to the protagonist, Rooster Cogburn, portrayed by John Wayne in his 1969 Academy Award-winning performance, and Jeff Bridges in his Academy Award-nominated performance in the 2011 version of the same film, as having ridden with Quantrill's Raiders, revealing a celebration of a character with racist qualities. The movie provided us with a cantankerous depiction of Cogburn as protagonist that easily misses, if not already known and subsequently unpacked, the murderous actions he undertook as part of Quantrill's clan. As well, It is difficult to watch Brad Pitt's sanitized version of Jesse James, a depiction that doesn't even mention his dastardly affiliation with Quantrill's Raiders, a terrorist group. Yes, the same Brad Pitt who executive produced and starred in the film 12 Years a Slave also starred in a farcical film, The Assassination of Jesse James, with no mention of his traitorous execution of black men, black people. Pitt literally may have portrayed Jesse James for similar reasons to my once upon a time hero worship of this gun-slinging terrorist. The irony of uncertainty around critical race theory would make sense if you hadn't already been continually exposed to it. If you are remotely familiar with W.E.B. Du Bois's existential question, how does it feel to be a problem, from which he argued symbolizes that all black people struggle with their very existence being problematic, then you've already been exposed to critical race theory. The value of CRT is readily visible in The Color Purple, the film starring Oprah Winfrey, where she portrayed the character Sophia, who refused an offer to be a maid to the mayor's wife, returned a slap in the face from the mayor with a slap in the face, and upon being seen as an uppity Negro, was sentenced to jail time and a form of probation that then had her serving her time as the mayor's wife's maid. If all black people at some point must self-reflect on how problematic it is for them to be in the mix with others that for various reasons aren't comfortable with their presence, that discomfort came about through systemic racism, not individual bias. When someone calls me, or calls you, calls your mom or dad, calls your friend or lover a nigga, it isn't just about individual aggressiveness. Institutions, institutional racism, and the systems and systemic racism within them were set up to reward whites for successfully navigating the waters of racism, using their socially constructed and exacerbated racial privilege, even profanely projecting racial obscenities, assuming they will get away with it unscathed. Critical race theory helps in unpacking things like black fraternities' brown bag tests that were once part of their entry requirements and an undeniable example of institutionalized self-hatred. Similar structures allowed black people to call and be called nigger, while justifying it as not significant due to it being nothing more than in-group dialogue, similar to the boys will be boys justification for men being sexist. A boy, a man, staring unblinkingly at a woman's cleavage, even figuratively getting momentarily lost in it, is often poorly justified as something that just occurs. Not to be taken too seriously, though cumulative actions leading to overt objectification like this could mark her forever. A black person using any version of the N-word towards another black person is often absolved of any guilt for using it simply by arguing that their endings make a difference. As if a non-black person who hears nigger, nega, negas, and any other ending is slicing and dicing the different meanings, the different interpretations the N-word might carry. Yeah. So now, with part one seeping into your subconscious, you have more knowledge of critical race theory than you did 10 minutes ago. At least that's my hope. So make sure you check out part 2 and part 3. And if you enjoyed the video, please like it. If you like more of this type of thing, including poetry and news and entertainment, hey, subscribe to my channel. Tell a friend about this video and enhance the collective consciousness. And remember, you always have a place in Black Man's Corner. And until the next time, power to the people.